Shaft flex is one of the most misunderstood specs in golf, and the industry has done absolutely nothing to make it clearer. Manufacturers intentionally keep it vague. Your local pro shop, even well-meaning ones, often do not have the tools or knowledge to properly fit you. Most golfers just accept what they are told without ever questioning whether it makes sense for their swing. By the end of this video, you will understand what shaft flex actually does, why the 5 standard flex labels are almost meaningless, and what you should actually be looking for when you upgrade or get fitted. Let's start with the basic physics. A golf shaft is not a rigid stick, it bends. It bends a lot during your swing. The key moment is not at address. Nobody cares how much the shaft bends when you are standing still. The important moment is the transition and the downswing. As you start your downswing, the club is lagging behind your body. Your hands are moving faster than your shoulders. Your body is rotating faster than your arms. All of that creates what tour players call lag. The shaft loads, it compresses, it bends backward relative to the direction you are swinging. That bending stores energy. When you get to impact, that bend must release at exactly the right time. If the shaft releases early, you lose power and control. If it releases late, you have the same problem. The amount the shaft bends, the speed at which it bends, and the speed at which it returns to center all affect whether that release happens at the perfect moment for your specific swing. This is where flex comes in. A stiffer shaft bends less and a more flexible shaft bends more. That bending has real consequences for your golf ball. When a shaft bends the right amount for your swing speed and tempo, it launches the ball at the optimal angle for distance and consistency. The ball will have the right spin rate. You will hit more fairways. You will have more control over distance. A shaft that is too stiff will not bend enough during your swing. The club will still be decelerating at impact. The ball launches lower than intended, and your spin rate drops. You lose distance and consistency, especially on off-center hits. You will also tend to miss right because the club face is not squaring up the way the designers intended. A shaft that is too soft does the opposite. It bends too much, and the shaft is still moving at impact instead of stable. The ball launches higher and spin rate balloons. Your distance becomes inconsistent. You lose distance into the wind, and you cannot control trajectory. You start compensating in your swing, which makes everything worse. Here is where the industry gets interesting and honestly, kind of infuriating. There are 5 standard flex designations used across the golf industry. From slowest to fastest swing speeds they are, ladies, amateur, regular, stiff, and extra stiff. Sometimes you see X-stiff, sometimes you see senior flex in the ladies' family. But basically those 5 cover the spectrum. Now here is the problem. There is no universal standard for what any of these labels actually mean. A stiff flex shaft from one manufacturer is absolutely not the same as a stiff flex shaft from another. A Project X shaft marked as stiff and a Fujikura shaft marked as stiff are measurably different. The Project X will be stiffer. Play them back to back and a good golfer will feel the difference immediately. Same story with Titleist and Callaway. Different specs, different company, different definition. The manufacturers could have created a universal measurement system. They chose not to. Why? Because it is easier to sell a golfer the idea that they need the latest version of their preferred brand if nobody can directly compare stiffness across brands. So how do professionals who know what they are doing measure shaft flex? They use 2 real metrics, frequency and EI profile. Frequency is straightforward. You put the shaft in a special machine, the machine vibrates the shaft, and you measure how many times per minute the shaft oscillates back and forth at a natural frequency. That measurement is given in cycles per minute. A stiffer shaft oscillates faster and a more flexible shaft oscillates slower. These numbers are objective. A lady's flex shaft might oscillate at 130 to 150 cycles per minute. A regular flex might be 170 to 185 cycles per minute. A stiff might be 200 to 225 cycles per minute. Extra stiff might be 240 cycles per minute and above. These numbers do not change between manufacturers. If you know the frequency, you know the stiffness in absolute terms. Most golfers have never heard this metric. Most club fitters do not measure it. Tour professionals and equipment nerds obsess over it. The second metric is the EI profile. EI stands for flexural rigidity. It is a measure of how stiff the shaft is at every single point along its length. A shaft is not uniformly stiff. The tip, the middle, and the butt are different. A shaft might be very stiff in the tip to control ball flight, but more flexible in the middle and the butt to match your tempo and swing characteristics. The EI profile is a chart. It shows stiffness as a function of position along the shaft. You can compare two shafts and see that one is stiffer through the middle while another is softer in the tip. That profile matters because it affects how the shaft loads, where on the shaft the bending happens, and how the whole system behaves during your swing. Again, this is what tour pros care about. This is what good club fitters measure. This is not what your average golfer knows anything about. Let's talk about what happens in the real world when you get the flex wrong. You are a golfer with a swing speed of 92 miles per hour. You have a smooth tempo. Your transition is not aggressive. You are stable. You are controlled. Your local pro shop tests you with a TrackMan or FlightScope launch monitor. They hit some balls, the data comes back. They see a ball speed of 92 miles per hour. They see a decent spin rate. They see reasonable launch. They tell you that you need a stiff shaft. You trust them. You buy a new driver with a stiff shaft. You play it for a month. You notice that your driver feels a little dead. Shots that are pure feel fine. Shots that are slightly off center feel way off center. You are losing distance on those off center hits compared to what you had before. You are also noticing that low points in your round where you have hit 3 drives in the same conditions, you are getting 3 different distances, 80 yards of variation. That consistency problem is because the shaft is too stiff for your tempo. Your smooth tempo does not bend the shaft enough during the transition. The shaft is still slightly decelerating at impact. The launch angle is coming in lower than design. You are losing both distance and consistency. Now imagine a different golfer, same swing speed, 92 miles per hour, but this golfer has a different transition, more aggressive, more dynamic, a faster tempo. That golfer needs a more flexible shaft. If you put them in stiff, the same thing happens. If you put them in regular, the shaft bends correctly, loads and releases at the right moment, and everything works. This is why swing speed alone is not the answer. 2 golfers with identical swing speeds can need different flex. Your tempo matters, your transition matters, your loading pattern matters. A good fitting measures all of it. I want to spend a moment on what proper fitting actually looks like, because what most golfers get at retail is not fitting. It is guessing. Real fitting takes time. You are doing multiple sessions. You have a launch monitor. You have a carry bag with multiple shafts. You have different heads. You are testing the same head in 3 different shaft options. You are hitting 5 balls with each. You are measuring launch angle, spin rate, carry distance, and how the ball feels off the club. You are looking for the combination where your distance is maximum, your spin rate is optimal, and your dispersion is tightest. You are also listening to feedback from the golfer about feel and confidence. Some golfers swing better when they feel more control. Some golfers swing better when they feel more speed. Good fitting respects that. Then, once you have narrowed it down, you are testing that shaft for weeks. You are hitting it in different conditions: wind, different times of day, different course situations. You are making sure that this is truly the right choice. This is what tour professionals do. This is what good club fitters do. This is not what you get in a 30-minute session at the local big box golf store where the pro is fitting 3 people simultaneously while also selling merchandise. Now, let us talk about the shaft technology itself and why it matters so much. The graphite shaft revolution changed golf equipment more than anything since the metal woodhead. Steel shafts were the standard for decades: heavy, solid, predictable. Graphite shafts allowed manufacturers to tune stiffness profiles much more precisely. You could make a graphite shaft that was stiff in the tip but soft in the middle. You could not do that as easily with steel. That tuning opened up a whole design space. Fujikura changed the game with shafts that had specific energy distribution characteristics. Mitsubishi created shafts designed for specific swing speeds and tempos. Project X brought precision manufacturing and frequency matching to the aftermarket. These are not minor improvements. These are genuinely different tools that perform differently. Here is something most golfers do not realize. On the PGA Tour, the shaft matters more than the head. Professionals will play the same head for years, but they change shafts constantly. A tour pro might play the same Callaway Paradigm head for 2 years, but the shaft in that head changes every week depending on wind, course conditions, and what the player is trying to accomplish that week. Why? Because the shaft tunes the entire performance envelope of the club. The head is important, but the shaft is where the magic happens. The shaft is what loads and unloads. The shaft is what generates launch and spin. The shaft is what matches the player's tempo and swing characteristics. The head just sits at the end of it. Tour pros understand this. They obsess over shafts. They test shafts the way amateur golfers test drivers. If professionals are that invested in shaft fitting, why should amateurs ignore it? There has also been a massive shift in iron shafts. For generations, irons had steel shafts. That was simply what irons had. Steel was heavier, which gave you feedback and control. It was consistent. It was the standard. Graphite iron shafts have taken over the amateur market. Why? Multiple reasons. First, they are lighter. That lighter weight can shift the center of gravity lower and deeper in the club head. That changes launch characteristics. Second, graphite shafts can be made more flexible than comparable steel shafts at the same weight. That gives you a bit more help on off-center hits. Third, and this is the marketing part, graphite shafts are associated with better players and premium pricing. Manufacturers have positioned graphite irons as the upgrade. Some of that is real benefit. Some of it is marketing. But the reality is that if you are getting fitted into irons, there is a very good chance your fitter is recommending graphite shafts now. 10 years ago, that would have been an extra cost. Now, it is almost standard for anything beyond beginner sets. So what should you actually do with this information? If you have never been formally fitted with a launch monitor and shaft comparison, you should do that. Not at a retail store where they have one monitor and one shaft option. Instead, go to an actual club fitting facility where they have inventory and measurement tools. If you are considering a new driver or new irons, fitting should happen before you buy. If you are a golfer who has plateaued and you are wondering why you are not improving, shaft flex might be part of the answer. You might be playing something that was fitted to you years ago when your swing was different. Your swing has evolved, your flex needs might have evolved with it. You might be leaving 20 or 30 yards on the table because your flex is off. That is real money at stake. If you are enjoying this kind of equipment deep dive and you want more of it, hit subscribe. We cover topics like this every single week. We explain shaft flex, club fitting, equipment choices, and technology comparisons. If you want to understand your gear the way tour pros do, you are in the right place.